Refugees, to again quote the UNHCR, are persons fleeing armed conflict or persecution. These are people for whom the denial of asylum has potentially deadly consequences.
Hundreds of thousands of people are on the move just within Europe, and another 4 million are being hosted in Turkey, Lebanon and Jordan.
But then after thousands of refugees died this year trying to get to Europe, one 3-year-old boy's body washed ashore in Turkey. His name was Aylan Kurdi, and he drowned with his 5-year-old brother and his mom trying to get to Greece. His father, Abdullah, survived and has now returned to Syria to bury his wife and children. In fact, when offered the opportunity to resettle in another country, Abdullah said, "Now I don't want anything. What was precious is gone."
Hello and welcome to Gospod, the anti-war war game. The first part of the video we will discuss the dynamic between refugees and the military in relation to my game. Listening to the story on the left hand side is how you make money and progress through the game. This game is a military game put beside a refugee story, which is the key connection that makes this game different from others, I think. You need to listen to the story to progress, and you need to partake in warfare to win. I think putting the game in this framework makes the user really question why and how they are playing the game, which to me is the most important part. We are going to listen to the story for the first round, and then we'll move on to the more technical portion of the game.
One night, the bombs were coming closer and closer. We were all sitting together downstairs because we couldn't sleep. As houses were being destroyed, one by one in our village, neighbors were running from one house to the next. So some neighbors were gathered in our house too. A rocket landed on the roof of our house, but no one was injured. We ran in fear to another house. We were so terrified we didn't even think about taking anything with us. Soon after, our house was totally destroyed. We left with no IDs, nothing.
Before the game even begins, the game pulls images off of Google based on a certain search term that you give it and downloads them to your files, and you will see those pictures momentarily. The instructions are long and boring, so we'll just skip those and head into the game. Actually, I may or may not have gotten compliments on my UI from my homepage here, so I will try to leave this up for as long as possible. That's enough. Important game dynamic to note beforehand, the game is a military warfare game, but what makes this game interesting is the focus on refugees that you must maintain because that is your source of income. With that said, we'll go into what everything does now if we're playing for real. So the first thing is to listen to the refugee story. Next, you use the money you receive from that to buy military pieces for the military portion of the game. Now you go into the warfare part of the game. You must click on one of the red ports that you have here to move one of your pieces. And if your pieces are one arrow length away from an enemy piece, you can attack them. I'm going to show you how to attack. So the attack algorithm is kind of complicated. I know how it works, trust me. But, I mean, I'm going to win, so I'm going to take over his pieces and occupy the new port. But I don't know when I'm going to lose because math, so. Okay, we'll wrap up by going through the rest of the little buttons, and then if you want to watch some more gameplay, you can click the link below. Here you can have a conversation with the Gospod. You have to keep him happy because he affects your chances of winning and how much money you get. Yeah, so there's just a little word detection algorithm here. Chance cards are fun. I may or may not have you had to use eval to run a string, but they are pretty cool, and they make interesting changes to the game dynamics, like how much money you have, your interest rate, how happy the Gospod is, and whatnot. Finally, the pause menu. Here you can adjust sounds and difficulty. The difficulty setting is based on a few things: how much money you make, and more importantly, how many times the AI decides to recursively call the function for creating a new random board. In reality, all of that is not necessarily how I want people to play the game. I would hope people catch on to the connection that I'm trying to make between the refugees and warfare in general, and from that gain some kind of insight that they didn't have before.